Good morning, everybody, on this lovely, beautiful, cold winter day, the first day of the crazy negative temperatures. And I would say that I remember a few years ago when it was like negative 11 degrees when I was in Carrollton, like back in 2014. I was in a house that you could see the light of day through the cracks, and the sink pipes would freeze and all of that. And that was like part of the house way back when. Now, thank God, I'm in a place where the pipes don't freeze and I actually have wall heaters, not space heaters, but I do have one space heater. So, we have been going over the concept of hormones being created because the body is on a death trajectory. And we have figured out the three things that kill people is an overabundance of hormones, okay, candida, and then too many antibodies or natural killer cells. So now this leads me to this whole thing about vitamin D and sun gazing, which is the baby of the holistic industry. And I followed a guy a couple of years ago who was way into drinking a lot of milk, which has a lot of hormones, raw milk at that, all into the sun gazing, going outside and just taking in all this sun, and then playing with organite, selling organite, and then hanging out with a bunch of naturopathics. Now, some of you may know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to name his name. I have named his name before, but I'm not going to name it now. But as I look back on the people I used to follow, everything that they're doing is completely the opposite of what we have uncovered within the last year. So then this leads me to this whole thing about the whole chemtrail activists and the blotting out the sun, how everyone's like, oh my God, all up in arms. And there's no way to blot out the sun unless you have a volcano that has ash that creates, a nuclear winter. That's the only way you can actually block out the sun. But here's the thing. Do you actually need to be inducing a vitamin D hormone in your body on a continuous basis? You've seen people who are sun worshipers or sailors that are out in the sun all the time. Their skin is wrinkly. Too much sun does trigger backdoor triggers. I'm going to tell you a story real quick. I'm not going to say who she is, but I know a lady, a friend of mine, for a very long time. I know a lot of her history. When she was first diagnosed with lupus, she had that butterfly effect on her face. Now, she had a bunch of stuff that went on earlier in her 20s, and her system was very hyperactive. I mean, as far as her immune system, she barely ever got sick when she was a kid. And so I remember her telling me this story that when she first had the major symptom of lupus was after hiking in the mountains, and she got a major sunburn. And that major sunburn then turned into contracting or triggering the autoimmune disorder. So, Jim Stevenson, I'm going to totally delete everybody that is playing the whole thing. I'm just not even going to go there. So you can listen or you can play your activism about the chemtrails. Like, seriously. All right. I'm gonna delete you off, Jim Stevenson. There are antibodies to 1. I'm seriously deleting you off because I'm not gonna have you be interjecting. I'm sorry, but I'm having a monologue here and I don't need you to be protesting or activism. And because that's not the point of here. And I have a lot of chemtrail activists on my page that can't seem to get away from their activism, and they're not even on the protocol. But of course, they have always something to say, of course. But later on. But later, dude. All right. So anyways, she was telling me that when she finally triggered lupus, it was because, it was right around the time that she got sunburnt. Well, that would make sense because when you are inducing a hormone such as vitamin D on a continuous basis, and that's too much sun. Now, I'm not saying everybody live in a cave. I'm not saying that, but of course, Jim Stevenson's going to go to the extreme because he's still an activist, very imbalanced. So he's not going to understand. He's going to push along his point of view because that's what people do when they're activists. So anyways, she got the butterfly effect on her face and then, had to go down that route of trying to figure out how to get that lupus at bay. So then it leads me to then say, okay, do I necessarily need to have massive amounts of sun where I am sun gazing every single day? Or is the mere fact that I'm in a climate to where it's not 100% dark all the time, but even in Alaska with or even Washington or places where they're really gloomy, there is a certain amount of sun that comes through, but your body, is so mutated. Some people are not able to keep their hormones in balance. So if they're in an area where there isn't as much sun, yeah, I can see why some people would fall victim to depression, because it's just another thing that is taxing their system, because you're already hormonally imbalanced and you're living in an area where there hardly is any sun. Okay, so yeah, I could see why some people can survive in dark climate areas like maybe Washington or Alaska in certain times of the year, and why others flourish completely fine. Now, a couple of years ago, I had seasonal affect disorder during the times of winter here in Ohio. And it only, the reason why is because I already had PMDD. I already came in with a deficiency, and not having the sun, the hormone, to balance me out, which is why people are doing that, just compounded the issue. So, this has completely just flipped the script of the activists, the holistic industry, all the sun gazers, the meditationers, because if you're not doing Jilly Juice, it doesn't matter what you do. It's only going to put your system more of a deficiency, more of an imbalance. And that's, so when I'm looking back on the people I used to follow in the holistic industry, and I look and see what they said and what they do, and I'm looking at now the information that we've uncovered, everything that they're doing is completely the opposite of a pro-life scenario at the cellular level, like everything. Because they are constantly inducing hormones in the holistic allopathic. Vitamin D is a hormone. I used to take the vitamin D supplement. It was in a drop, like in an eyedropper. It was a liquid. It's all a hormone. It had other ingredients in it. It tasted sweet. So I'm sure it had like stevia or some kind of, additive to it. But I was taking hormones. No wonder I didn't get better. No wonder I didn't get well. No wonder my PMDD was becoming more and more, progressive. But, when you think that you are, when you feel an effect, when you're taking supplements or hormone replacement therapy, when you're taking your vitamins, you feel a certain way. You feel like maybe your heart races a little bit. You feel certain things. You think it's working. When you feel more energy because you're taking it because you have, depression and fatigue, and you feel more energized, it's no different than taking some adrenaline pumping caffeinated drink. But then, there's this whole stigma around caffeine. So then what people do, they just trade one addiction for the other. Then they say, okay, well, if you want to, decrease your depression, go outside. Go get the vitamin D from outside or from milk. That's another thing that I noticed in the holistic world. This gentleman that is very popular making organite, he's all into the raw milk, whether it's for antibiotics or for nutrients. Like, what? And then grows his own food. Yeah, I'm kind of sort of like mentioning him. Yes, not mentioning his name, but I'm mentioning his lifestyle. But I want you to see in juxtaposition what you're getting in the holistic industry. And I'm completely debunking all of their practices. With the working out, drinking milk, sun gazing, playing with organite, all of it is a complete antithesis of what the body actually needs. When you're inducing so many hormones in different ways with different names, guess what? You're putting yourself on a death trajectory, because hormones are only there to protect you in times of imminent danger. And then I have, people that are such in a fight or flight type of scenario. So all these chemtrail activists are saying, oh yeah, they're blotting out the sun. No, they're not. If the sun was going to be blotted out, they would induce a volcano to create ash, and then you'd have a nuclear winter on a continuous basis. You're still getting some sunlight. There's still vegetation being grown in different parts of the world. Yes, right now we're going through an extreme temperature change at this point. So right now it's super, super cold, but my body is fine. A couple of years ago, I would have been in a hoodie and another hat and, mittens and everything else, but I feel perfectly fine. Yes, I have a few heaters on the house, but no different than what I had a couple of years ago. And actually I had more heaters a couple of years ago because I was so cold. I was sitting in my bed, so cold. I don't have all the heaters on in the house because one bedroom is completely cold. Okay, so I'm fine with this temperature change. My body adapted to the situation. People down south in the southern hemisphere, yeah, they're cooking. They're, the tires are melting right off their wheels. Yeah, that's pretty extreme. So, it's going to happen, that for whatever reason, somebody is, making the weather more extreme in some way, because we know through science that we can make the climate more moderately temperate to be able to grow food all over the world so we don't have this scarcity. But since we're not in control, we got to deal with somebody else's, manipulating elements to possibly make money. Because I'm sure my electric company is going to be, we already, it was a couple $100, like a month or so ago. Now my electric bill is $440. I can only imagine what my next electric bill is going to be, between $400 and $500. So yeah, if somebody is making money off of these extreme temperatures, but there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, I could go move to California and pay higher taxes and everything else, but it's perfectly fine. The trade-offs are there. The lower cost of living where I live. Yes, I have to deal with some extreme temperatures. It doesn't happen every year, but it does happen, and I'll just deal with it. And if I'm not happy, I'll go move somewhere else if that's where I want to go. So, when you finally get your body well balanced, you're not going to feel like you're in imminent danger like these activists feel like. They feel like they have to fight, but that is a mental illness. If humanity was in imminent danger, collectively, we would be fighting against whatever it was that was putting all of us in danger. If you have boots at your door and you are being rounded up like they did back in, World War II, yeah, I could see then all of us, regardless of our political persuasion and activist mentality platform, we would all band together. But since humanity isn't in imminent danger, no different than not everybody dies from chemtrails, not everybody dies from vaccines, not everybody dies from GMO, then it tells you that what you bring to the table is determining your illness, whether it's mental illness, physical illness, or death trajectory. And some are going to pass away faster than others, because guess what? You have more mutations than the next guy who doesn't give a shit about your platform. So that's why I'm not concerned about whatever the powers may be doing, whatever they're doing. Yes, I don't have kids. When you have a child, yes, you are entering into a system that wants to make sure that you are sound enough that you know what the hell you're doing. And yeah, they're going to put measures in place. So you got to prove that you know what you're doing with that child. So yeah, they're going to be, coming down on mothers, newborns. It makes sense too, because we have mothers out there that are killing their children. So, I mean, hey, it's like you can't have it both ways. You want to protect children, but there are people that are very mutated in the population, and then they're having children. So somebody has to watch over those that are really being stupid with their kids, and then others, you know what you're doing. Don't trigger the system to be in your home. Play the game and play it well. Don't bring attention to yourself. When you bring attention to yourself, guess what? You're going to follow their rules. And either you do it or you don't. And then if you don't, guess what? You're going to be labeled as an incorrigible, out of control adult who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and they're going to take your kid away. So don't play that game of, oh yeah, I'm against the government. I mean, if your kid's sick, it means they were introduced to a pathogen the body didn't recognize. And then you as a mom are going to, if it does bring attention to the government that you have a sick kid, then you got to follow their rules if they're watching you. If not, then you just take care of the kid the best way you know how. But if somebody alerts them to your belief system because you can't keep your mouth shut about your activism, then whatever, then you bring it on to yourself. Activism brings attention to your personal life. There are ways to educate people without bringing attention to yourself, without instilling fear, without bringing you on that death trajectory, because you're inducing a hormone, whether it's adrenaline, whether it's fear, whether it's oxytocin, whether it's whatever. There are ways to take care of you and yours and exemplify. So if you feel that you're in imminent danger and your space is being violated, then what did you do to bring that on? What did you do? Where are you responsible? And that's where, the activists don't take personal responsibility. So, of course, everything is in imminent danger because they're yelling and screaming and they're calling attention to themselves. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. It works both sides. It works both ways. The squeaky wheel does get the grease. And boy, if you're going to be a squeaky wheel, you're going to get a lot of grease. I'm purposely being a squeaky wheel because I am on the side of right. Now, yeah, I'm biased, but I understand now how the human body works. I understand what exactly is killing humanity. And I know for a fact that every single person out there wants to live. Even when they say they don't want to live forever, they don't want to die today. Okay, so if you don't want to die today, then it would behoove you to at least check out my information. Because the way that you're going, if you're not taking in strategic nutrition, is you're rolling the dice. Your practices, your behaviors, your belief systems are going to then trigger at some point when all the conditions are right. And there's no telling if your CBD oil that you're taking or your pills, powders, and supplements that you're taking, prescription drugs that you're taking are going to put you over the edge and then trigger some autoimmune disorder, trigger whatever mutation you have, that's floating around in your system. Because those of you who are even anti-vax, you've been exposed to the vaccinated people, so you have backdoor triggers that you're just compounding the issue with elderberry syrup, with all of your pills, powders, and detoxes. And then you wonder why you're unhappy. You wonder why you have to go to the hospital all the time. You wonder why your kids are sick. Oh yeah, okay, so you're not anti-vax and you're all pro-holistic, but guess what? All of those practices induce hormones. It compounds the mutations your kids already sustained by being exposed to this environment of the people who are vaccinated, who are bringing in new diseases. And you think that being anti-vax is like, the end-all be-all, when really you're on the same side as the pro-vax people because you don't understand antibodies. You don't get that. You don't understand hormonal imbalances because you're so focused on cancer. You're allowing the industry, the holistic and the allopathic industry, to lead your platform. You're allowing them to only have you focus on cancer. So you ignore the overabundance of candida, you ignore the overabundance of natural killer cells that cause autoimmunity, that cause aging, that triggers the backdoor triggers your grandchild or child already has sustained from your belief system from the past, as well as whatever they were introduced to in the general population, because your kid isn't in a bubble. Your kid's exposed to people who have been vaccinated. Any exposure to pathogens, whether it's a new disease out there from the vaccine industry or just in an area that has more conglomeration negative elements, they're going to sustain a mutation. And you think, oh yeah, my kid's sick, which they sustained a mutation, and you gave them elderberry syrup, which guess what? Feeds cancer, candida, and all of the ingredients like turmeric and honey and everything else induces natural killer cells. And guess what? You've induced a hormone, and you put your kid, your grandkid, or whoever on a death trajectory, and everybody around you, because they're looking to you as if you're some leader in the anti-vax world, but you realize that they're no different. The vaxxed community is all about the green vaccine, the homeoprophylaxis. That's why vax exists, because they're trying to sell you the green vaccine. That's why they focus only on the adjuvants, on the additives. Oh, the abortifacient cells, the mercury. Yeah, which is not a great thing, but you get that shit in the food supply. Okay, so it's not like you're not getting that anywhere. Anyways, you are. It's the pathogens, the bacteria that your child is getting exposed to that creates antibodies, that creates backdoor triggers. So when you go get a titer test and you're testing positive for all of these different antibodies, guess what? That's a backdoor trigger for your grandchild and your child and yourself. And then taking elderberry syrup and all of your pills, powders, and detoxes are only going to compound the issue. And then saying, oh yeah, the chemtrails, are blocking out the sun. They're trying to kill us. No, you're killing yourself. You're always going to be in a society that's an industrial society. You're always going to have elements and conglomeration elements. They're going to get kicked up in some different parts of the region than others. But guess what you have the power over? Your internal universe. Understanding strategic nutrition, understanding the role of energized salt, that basically is pink Himalayan salt with the minerals. Understand the elemental composition of the human body. Understand chemistry and biochemistry. Understand the role of hormones. The role of hormones is to protect you temporarily from imminent danger. And that's why reproduction exists, because it knows that your body is on a death trajectory because of your belief system. And then it needs to procreate to make sure extinction doesn't occur in the human population. And then you have the adrenaline and the oxytocin to make sure that it temporarily protects you. But guess what? Mutated people think that they're in imminent danger 24/7. And so, yeah, activism is a mental illness. It's an imbalance in the system because you think everything is now in danger. You think you're in danger 24/7. And guess what? It shows in your Facebook posts. You are constantly inducing hormones because you have been traumatized by whatever information. And now you're looping, no different than a ghost on Ghost Adventures, looping in their death state attached to an inanimate object, trying to find peace. And those of you who are still in the activism world have major mutations, and not because of the vaccines. Oh yeah, they're part of the factors. It's because you don't understand how the human body works, and then you're listening to the holistic industry. Do you realize the holistic industry is no different than the allopathic industry? Pro-vax is no different than anti-vax because nobody is focusing on the antibodies. They're all inducing antibodies. Natural killer cells are being induced when you bring in a poison in your body. Elderberry syrup is a poison to your body and your child's body. Colloidal silver, bentonite clay, zeolite. So when someone says, hey, I got this vaccine, and then guess what? The anti-vaxxer holistic view is like, hey, yeah, take colloidal silver. It's a detox. Take bentonite clay. Take, kombucha. Take, apple cider vinegar. Take what, you name it. They have some kind of detox. And guess what that does? That's a poison. It creates a natural killer cell that, yes, may go after some antigen, but it also destroys good cells, and it creates a hormone. Because guess what? When you are putting your body in danger, hormones get created because now the body, sees that it's on a death trajectory and more hormones get created. And now you have a kid that's imbalanced. Oh yeah, so your kid doesn't have, leukemia, But having an overactive, strong immune system means that you have a weak, mutated body. Bodies break down when overabundance of natural killer cells are being induced all the time. So don't think that a strong immune system means a strong human being. Absolutely not. When you're testing positive on a titer test for every single pathogen and all the 24 different strains of measles that are in these vaccines, but they're not an all-in-one vaccine. Would you see 24 different strains in one vaccine? Oh, hell no, because that would destroy a person. So that's why there's outbreaks, is because we have 24 different strains. Everybody's getting a different strain. So one doesn't get exposed to the one strain. Yeah, they're going to come down with measles. So yeah, the vaccinator are vaccinating the public, but you're also getting vaccinated. You're inducing antibodies too, non-vaxxer. And then you think, oh yeah, my kid's sick. I'm just going to go put him in a measles party or something and take clotocilver or take some kind of topical steroid, homeoprophylaxis. They have you all snowed. And so, yeah, there's no wonder some of you who are anti-vax still have to take part in the system, the naturopathic system. Oh yeah, we need to do a test to see what deficiency you have. Oh, you're vitamin D deficient. Oh, you're vitamin A deficient. Yeah, you have a hormone imbalance, but you think vitamins and detoxes and prescription drugs are going to keep you in balance? Oh, hell no. The body understands how to synthesize food like cabbage, but there's a strategic way to get access to those nutrients that does keep your hormones in balance. Oh, but no, everyone's afraid of salt because guess what? They listen to the holistic community who stand to make a buck off your ignorant asses. And now I'm tired. I know I'm being really like very frank, but I'm so pissed. You know, I mean, people are totally attacking me, especially in the anti-vax world, because of the holistic side of it. And they don't realize that when you listen to people in the holistic world, they either are that ignorant or they're losing their platform, their bucks that they're making off of the ignorant population. You know how much homeoprophylaxis probably costs? And that's what you see these women who are like, oh yeah, you know, they're putting all these adjuvants, so we have a green vaccine. Once I realized, when I talked about the titer test, if you want to bypass the vaccines, you get a titer test. So that way you can see what antibodies you test positive for, so you can bypass the vaccine. And this one lady in the anti-vax world, who's totally homeopathic, allopathic, and holistic, wouldn't even show it to her friends. Wouldn't even recommend titer tests to her friends. And I'm like, you're anti-vax. Why would you withhold this type of information? Wouldn't you want your friends who you're trying to warn because of all of those additives in the vaccines? Wouldn't you want to show them that, hey, do the titer test. You will come up positive for all of these vaccines that you're supposed to show proof for. Why wouldn't you show that? The reason is because she was laying the groundwork for the homeoprophylaxis, the green vaccine. And that is the intention of Andrew Wakefield, Del Bigtree, and all of those vaxxed people. They're paving the way for the green vaccine. So in essence, there is no difference, but they're making a manufactured difference because of the additives. But you're exposed to mercury and aborted fetus cells, whether in the food supply, because I know you ain't eating out of your garden, those of you who live in Silicon Valley, and you're exposed to the mercury and whatever else in the air, and your body needs a certain amount, trace minerals. If you understand the elemental composition of the human body, you will know that the first 9 elements are electrolytes, and salt is one of the first 9 elements. Potassium, magnesium, water, air, oxygen, all that, right? And then the last like 20 elements of the balance of the body are trace minerals: mercury, uranium, fluoride, silver, whatever else. You can go and Google it. Okay? So them focusing on the additives makes you think you have a choice. And then what do? You're like, oh yeah, well, let's do the green vaccine or space the vaccines apart. Oh, honey, you guys are being totally snowed. And that's why I endured attacks for the last couple of years. You know why? Because first of all, ignorance, number one. And number two, both the holistic and the allopathic world don't want you guys to understand this for whatever reason. And yeah, Dr. Tenpenny, Mercola, Aaron from Health Nut News, who else? You know, Medical Medium, they make a shit ton of money off of selling you hormone replacement therapies, whether it's pills, powder, supplements, or other types of detoxes. They make a shit ton off your hormones. And they make you think you're doing something because, yeah, there's bored housewives out there that have nothing else going on except to be an activist on Facebook. That's all they have going on. And they think they're doing something good. They think that their grandchild or their daughter, yes, their kids are beautiful, but guess what? They're aging. They're going to be triggering something because they've already been exposed to the antigen and the pathogens that are laying the groundwork for backdoor triggers. All of those antibodies they're going to test positive for, go get a titer test. You proved me how disease-free you are. No, you're not. Those backdoor triggers will trigger when all the conditions are right because you're not strategically reinforcing the nutrients to heal and seal and then be able to purge the antigen. Go look at your blood types for those of you who are anti-vax. If you're AB positive, guess what? You have antigen in your body, inducing antibodies, which then contributes to then all of the titer test positive results. If you're O negative, yeah, you have some kind of semblance of a chance. But if you're AB positive, you ain't disease free, and being anti-vax is not the answer because you're exposed to all that bullshit regardless if you're saying no to vaccines or yes. So that's why I say the pro-vax and the anti-vax are on the same platform. The pro-chemtrails and the anti-chemtrails are the same platform. Every single activist platform are actually working together. But people don't realize this. They think that, oh yeah, I'm taking a side. You know, really it comes down to absolutes, life or death. That's it. Everything else is just a story. It's just a way to kind of, you know, make your life on this earth for maybe less than 100 years a bit more fun because you are not relaxed. Y'all got to do something because your hormones are forcing you to be an adrenaline or depressed or full of pleasure, chasing the pleasure centers. But no, you can't sit at home and just relax and think about what the fuck you're doing because no, your hormones are in control. You can see the hormones in people when they're like, oh my God, the vaccines are going to kill everybody. Oh my, I mean, you're seeing the hormones being induced in me by me telling you this. I'm sacrificing myself. I'm giving you my hormones. I'm putting myself on a death trajectory, taking this to you because I'm working myself up too. No different than those of you. But at least at some point, maybe this might resonate. And I'm just laying the groundwork for you to finally get a hold of yourself and realize that you're not in imminent danger. And I'll go and repair. I'll take my Jilly Juice and repair the damage of inducing that hormone did to me because I sacrificed myself for you. I sound like an old Jewish mother. Oh, I'm laying a guilt trip. But no, really, I mean, come on. Somebody's got to wake some of you up. Some of you are very influential in the anti-vax world. Some of you are very influential in the chemtrails world. Some of you are very influential in the conspiracy world. And if you really got a hold of this information and understood it, you could change so many lives. But that would mean that you would have to forego all of your old friends that you used to hang out with, all of your anti-vax friends, all of your anti-chemtrail friends, all of your whatever friends that had you bring up this, you know, activism to begin with. You're going to have to say, hey, it's time for me to relax. It's time for me to get my family, whether it's my grandchild, my child, understanding the power of nutrition and not being vegan and vegetarian. Yes, I am biased because Jilly Juice is, you know, what it is that I propagate and what I promote. But obviously it works because I've seen major differences in myself the last few years. And I've gone through some major craziness because of it. But you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world because it made me who I am today. Not only was I investigated by the OAG and it turns out nothing is wrong, the Federal Trade Commission said, okay, as long as you don't advertise, do whatever you got to do. Even the FBI, that I voluntarily gave myself to the FBI because someone did a death threat, and so I felt I need to be responsible and report it. Not that I had any fear of it, but it's like, okay, people can't be making death threats on anybody. That's just against the law. So I voluntarily put myself in an FBI office, and they asked me they did the research on me. I know they did, because it took them 2 months to figure out who the hell I was. because I reported November 11th and they got a hold of me in January. Okay, so they were asking me a bunch of questions. They realized I'm not a crazy, unstable person. If anything, I'm probably more stable than most people in the general population. I understand balance. I understand a need for authority because there's many mutated people that don't know their boundaries out there in the general population. So yeah, we need to have checks and balances. And I understand the reality. If you're in imminent danger, like serious imminent danger, you have access to a gun. Maybe you have access to law enforcement. Hopefully they come to you in time. And you have fight or flight. You have adrenaline. You have your gut feeling about someone or something that says, hey, do I want to entertain this person or not? And sometimes your gut will tell you, but people ignore their gut. Sometimes they ignore their gut because they're very mutated. But now when you finally take in strategic nutrition, you're not going to ignore your gut, and you're going to see that your world and your perspective and everything changes. You're not going to look at the skies and think that everything is ugly. People who think life is ugly is looking through their life through the lens of a death trajectory. It's either life or death. If you believe that people should die, then that is why you have your belief system. Because it doesn't matter what happens in this lifetime, whether it's anti-vax, pro-vax, holistic, allopathic, chemtrails or not chemtrails, you're going to die anyways, and that's your belief system. So guess what? You're just trying to, take up time before you die. But if you believe in life, if you understand life everlasting, indefinite, you would believe it at the cellular level. These people who are pro-lifers, who are anti-abortionists, okay, where is your belief system when it comes to your own cellular structure? When you are rapidly aging, you are actually pro-death. You're pro-choice because you want the choice to die. You want the choice to take all of your pills, powders, and supplements. You believe in death, just not right now for you. So if somebody is actively decaying in the system, and they're full of cancer, disease, and chronic illness, major hormonal imbalance, and they believe in death, and they're pro-choice, guess what? They're consistent with their belief system. But those of you who claim that you're pro-life and anti-vax because it's killing you and anti-chemtrails, and yet you're degrading in the system at the cellular level, there's a disconnect, a misalignment with your body, mind, and spirit. And now it's pretty apparent to those who are finally waking up, clearing all of the cobwebs and all the crap in your gut. And they see the disconnect in the activist world. Pro-vax, anti-vax, chemtrails, or whatever, because people are actively dying in the activist world. Especially if you believe that people should die. If you believe in immortality or the possibility, then guess what? Your body and your life and everything is going to exemplify it. So, this juice does bring out it highlights the misalignment. It holds you accountable for what you say. And it really, the unintended benefits, I would say, far outweigh what I originally came into this for. And so, it would only behoove those of you who are very influential to stop killing your friends and family with your own, I don't know. I know you don't mean it, but at some point, you got to get tired of saying that the anti-vax and the pro-vax and the chemtrails, you got to get tired of the activism. When will you actually show that your belief system translates in your family? Just because they focus on cancer, okay, the 3 things that kill people: cancer, candida, overabundance of natural killer cells, and then a hormonal imbalance. If you're only focused on cancer, but you ignore the other 2, then you're just playing into the manipulation of the system. There is so much evidence around, the 3 things that kill people, and they're taking the hormones, the endocrine system, the hormones, to disappear your numbers of cancer. So yeah, you slow the process down a little bit. So yeah, you don't have cancer anymore, so you're not going to die tomorrow. But guess what? Now you're hooked on a drug. Oh, hormone replacement therapy. Hormones. That's what cannabis is. Come on. That's what all your detoxes are. That's what all your pills, powders, and supplements, and your elderberry syrup, and whatever else that you're taking whenever your kid gets sick. Because whenever your kid gets sick, guess what? That's a new pathogen the body didn't recognize, and they sustained a mutation. Those mutations accumulate over time, and they translate into cancer, disease, and chronic illness and premature aging. And they're exposed to all the chemtrails, and they're exposed to all the 5G, which isn't inherently dangerous. It's only dangerous to those who are mutated. So it's like, you know, come on, wake the fuck up. Wake up. I know that sounds cliche because even people in the activist world tell the people, oh, wake up, you're dying. They know it. But, you know, people who are mainstreamers and people who are activists, they both believe in the same thing. They both believe in death. They just don't want to die today. Who wants to die today? Who wants to die tomorrow? It's okay to die, but just not right now. And, oh, yeah, the chemtrails are killing us. Well, I'm still alive, so we're not in imminent danger. So where are you coming from, dear? Oh, that's right. You're mutated. You have an imbalance. Everything is like, oh, my God, everything is a state of emergency. It's a federal case. No, it's just because you have a hormonal imbalance and you think everything is imminently dangerous. And I can't help that. So that's why I got away from all of the allopathic, holistic, the activism, all of that. So yeah, vitamin D is a hormone, and sun gazing is not necessary, and it induces stress. And so yes, this person who I knew from a while who contracted lupus, it was already in her system because she had a hyperactive, overactive immune system. She was hardly ever sick as a kid. And then she, you know, had an interesting lifestyle. And then when she went hiking in the sun and she got a sunburn, that then triggered the lupus. So yeah, when your body is finally, you know, not depleted, but when the conditions are finally there, and you already have a backdoor trigger in your body, like an antibody, because you tested positive from either a vaccine or being exposed to the general population, it's only a matter of time before it triggers. And then when you practice all your pills, powders, and supplements and detoxes, and your sun gazing and drinking whole raw milk, you're stressing the body even more. And then one day those backdoor triggers are going to come into fruition. And then guess what? You're going to go and find some holistic remedy that's going to, you know, take another natural killer cell to go in and go after that cancer or that autoimmune disorder. And then you're going to see the body degrade. Yeah, you may have no numbers of cancer, but yeah, you're going to see now the aging and the decrepitness creep in. And then you're going to start seeing your body just shut down, one system at a time. Watch your friends and family. Watch your parents, grandparents. Okay, I mean, they're probably the best example of what happens in the system when you have parts of your body shut down. Yeah, they may still have all their faculties as far as their thought process, but their eyesight's going, your skin sagging, no collagen, highly stressed, anxiety, on a string of prescription drugs or pills, powdered supplements, going to acupuncture, chiropractor, getting massage, doing, you know, all of this Reiki shit. No, I mean, yeah, that really is evidence to show the body breaking down, and you're just using your hormones to keep things, you know. No sun gazing, Kevin. You got to watch my whole transmission. There is no evidence to support anybody sun gaze at all. When you go about your daily life, whatever it is, you get enough sun to keep your hormones level. You go out actively in the sun and purposely sit in the sun for however long, whether it's looking directly or not, you are actively inducing a hormone. Okay? So keep up, my darling. So yeah, there is no reason to be inducing hormones purposely. Like, no different than you don't want to be cutting yourself Because people who cut themselves, get tattoos, are actively inducing a hormone. They're addicted to the feeling of those hormones. Makes you wonder why the people who are that wear a lot of tattoos, they're probably great in bed because they like the pain, they like the pleasure. Probably more sexually active too. Oh, advanced. Okay. All right. Okay, you're trying to make a joke. Damn it. Well, I'm not getting it. Darn it. Kevin, stop with the jokes. I'm trying to be serious. Dork. All right. But yeah, I mean, people who are, that enjoy the pain, that are cutters, that actively watch, all of the murder shows, they're getting something from it. I get it, Kevin. I got it. I'm just on a different track and you're trying to inject humor, which right now is not appropriate. But yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying, pain is because your body needs to heal. So if you're in constant pain all the time, means that you're actively destroying your body. And so with the Jilly juice is when you are taking in nutrients and you're repairing your body. So yeah, you're going to be in pain, but you're in the different context. You're not destroying your body. You're actually repairing it, because when you are in pain in the matrix, it's your body trying to survive. You're abusing it. And so, yeah, it's trying to heal, and then you're stopping it by taking all of these natural killer cell type agents, or you're anesthetizing yourself with hormones. Okay? So, I mean, just understand the 3 things that kill. Okay? The 3 things that kill: hormonal imbalance, too many natural killer cells, and overabundance of candida. When I first started doing this Jilly juice, I was focusing on what the holistic industry is focusing on, which was the candida. And I found a lot of evidence to suggest that it was the underlying cause of all cancer, disease, and chronic illness. Because when you have an overabundance of candida, it's because your hormones are out of whack and you have an overabundance of natural killer cells. So of course candida is present. But when you have candida, it's because you have an overabundance of natural killer cells, and you also have a hormonal imbalance. Okay, I get it, Kevin. No worries. I misunderstood. I was on a different track, and you kind of put me off track, so that's why I misunderstood. Sometimes comments need to be sort of like chill until I get over my thing, or whatever. I don't know. But whatever. But anyways, so yeah, so the 3 things that kill people, that's what you have to understand. It's not just the cancer or candida, but that's right. That was the perspective that I came from. And then over time, we were peeling back the layers of everything. Okay. We were peeling back the layers of all the programming and figured out that the other 2, and I knew that the anti-vax and pro-vax was something that was going on with that. I knew that the holistic industry, something was going on with that. I had intuition, but I couldn't completely articulate it. Okay? I couldn't completely articulate it. Now, finally, we're able to articulate it. And we took it to a very basic premise. I mean, oops, I just dropped something. That's okay. Because Kevin will be proud of me. This is for you, Kevin. These are the slides that we're going to have for every presentation. And you were looking for this too at the Infinite Man Summit. But yes, why do people die? Aging or cell degradation or cancer, disease, and chronic illness. Oh, hold on. The 3 things that kill people: cancer, candida overload, overabundance of NK cells, hormonal imbalance. And then I put in pathogens, antibiotics, NK cells. Antibodies equals mutations equals hormones. And then what do people use to kill cancer? They use therapies, drugs, cannabis, immunotherapy, cancer vaccines, whatever. And those all contribute to the overabundance of the candida, the NK cells, and the hormonal imbalance. And that is what kills people, okay? And then here's the solution, because I'm not just pointing out the problem, I actually have a solution. And then here's the Jilly Juice. Nutrients, regenerate cells, energized by good salt and water as the carrier force. The recipe is cabbage, nutrients, kale, nutrients. Water, the carrier force in, carrier force out. Salt, energizer force, coupled with trace minerals. Lactofermentation, lactobacillus, cancer's mortal enemy, and the byproduct of the fermentation process, friendly bacteria. Healing symptoms, pain is healing, past, present, future triggers. Those are the backdoor triggers or future triggers, okay? And then diet, let's you know what induces NK cells to induce hormones, which causes an imbalance. Those are the spices, the detoxes, the pills, powder, supplements, the lemons and limes, the legumes, and all that stuff. Eventually, over time, you can reintroduce foods back in your diet, but not right now. And so, you know, I also looked at the whole thing with the spirituality and the religion and all of that, and the hormones and the chakras and the crystals and the organite. Organite is a heavy metal. It causes more chaos. Anybody that has organite in their house, put it in your backyard. Do not have it anywhere in the vicinity of your body. Crystals, right now, as you guys are still mutated, you need to put your crystals away, because crystals are like salt. They energize whatever condition you're in. I'm looking at, was it off grid or living off grid? And they're like, oh yeah, salt, pink Himalayan salt and lemon is a great alkaline type of drink. So guess what? Lemons are antibiotic. They create natural killer cells. They destroy the body over time. And they take salt, which is good for you, yes, but guess what the salt is energizing? Those natural killer cells. So you put salt in front of negative elements that create natural killer cells, it's going to energize it and make it worse. So salt alone by itself is not enough. It's what it's paired with is what makes a difference. There's sodium fluoride, sodium or monosodium glutamate, flavor enhancers. Okay? Salt is by itself is an energizing force, but it energizes a mutated body. That's why Santos Bonacci isn't like reversing the aging process, because he's just focusing on the cell salts or the salts, but not pairing it with the right things. He's pairing it with minerals. So saying, oh yeah, you know, salt in front of a heavy metal, which yeah, okay, salt and potassium, but your body doesn't need to have compartmentalization of the different minerals. It needs them all under one roof, like pink Himalayan salt, not sea salt with minerals, but pink Himalayan salt, which high sodium and a certain amount of minerals, and then the nutrition in the cabbage and kale that's broken down to a pre-digested state. And it energizes those nutrients to then fix the mutations in your body from either being pro-vax or anti-vax. Okay? And that's why you then experience pain. So, you know, right there is the solution. And it goes against everything in the holistic allopathic world. It seriously goes against everything in those two worlds. That's why I can't say anything about how it could do this, this, and this, because their method of credibility in biotech is double-blind studies. Well, nobody is going to do a double-blind study with Jilly Juice because they know what it is. There is no mistaking what Jilly Juice is. We're not going to put it in a pill because there isn't that immediate benefit that they're looking for. This is not a pain reliever, okay? So it would never fit in the, you know, it's not appropriate for double-blind studies. And then there's no way to determine what's going to happen tomorrow. You know, everybody, you know, the Jilly Juice right now at this point is not in a controlled environment. It's not like we have a lab with different scenarios and we're monitoring somebody 24/7. There's no way, because some people's healing could take a year. There is no place right now in the world that's going to do that kind of study to then rip the platform from under allopathic and holistic. There is nobody in this system that's going to then want to induce pain, because guess what the Hippocratic Oath is with doctors and even naturopathics is do no harm. What is harm? Don't induce pain, because to them, pain is harmful. But really pain is actually healing. So it's then, you know, revisiting, or not revisiting, it's reintroducing what pain actually means. And so that's why you're not going to see anything revolutionary in the allopathic holistic, because their professional limitations stop them from having a revolutionary thought process that brings about pain when their whole intention is to run away from pain. So yeah, I don't fit in any model of the allopathic holistic, and it pisses them off. So they're not going to do any kind of experiment where they're going to watch someone regrow an arm or a limb or an organ. Now you may have people that have regrown organs in the system because all the conditions were right. But how many people that have taken out an organ ever go back and do an x-ray to see if it regrew? Or are there medications, or the medication they're taking, is stopping that growth process? Is that hormone stopping them from regenerating? Because when you're taking a prescription drug, it's a natural killer cell. It stops any type of healing, but it keeps you somewhat in a very slow deteriorating homeostasis. And that's where the aging process comes in. It doesn't kill you right off the bat. No, that's what the FDA is there for. So biotech is there for, is that they slow the death process down, but the eventuality is death. And you better just, count your blessings. You have a certain amount of time on this earth. And if you want to pay for more time, we'll find a different way until your body completely shuts down. And that is the point of the allopathic holistic, is how much money can you afford to buy a few amount of years in your life relative to what you bring to the table. So if you're bringing positive on your titer test, then yeah, you're going to have a very short amount of time on this earth, especially if you continue with your trajectory. So it's up to you. The choice, the ball is in your court. The ball is in your court. Okay? And, and that's why I endure the troll attacks. That's why they make fun of me by saying, oh yeah, I have certain procreation categories still, stinging from, my clumsy way of trying to talk about body, mind, and spirit and aligning and all of that. And, I apologize to that community because I wasn't trying to make them feel discriminated against. But I finally said all people that reproduce, no matter what, which is true. Anybody that reproduces in any way, shape, or form, they all have a mutation. Children do come from mutations. So that's why we have a lot of, kids that are sick every single, not just because of vaccines, because it came from mutation. The parents pass on that immunity to their child. Of course your kid's going to be mutated and sick because it came from a mutation. Okay? So it's like, it's a non-issue now. Now we understand that everybody that is sexual on this earth has come from a mutation, or there's some mutations going on that has not been corrected, and they do manifest differently. Because there's so many different, our population is so diverse, okay? So diverse. And that diversity comes from mutations. So, so there's no discriminating against anybody, everybody that reproduces and everything. I'm not coming from like, oh, I can't have a kid. I don't want a child. And not because I can't. I'm sure if I wanted to, I could, but I don't really want to. I like my life the way it is. I like the freedom that I have. Now, I think a couple of years ago, I was like, yeah, I would love a kid. But my biological clock was ticking a couple of years ago too. That's why I got married. I was on a death trajectory, and now I was on a hunt for a husband. When women are on a hunt for a husband or a wife, your biological clock is ticking. And maybe you can't make it, so you're trying to have somebody else help you, and you want to also fall in love and have an experience. I mean, so many factors contribute to why people get married. Because, first of all, it's trying to fit in, and it could be out of, physical and some other necessity. Some people get married for business arrangements only. Others, they have other reasons. And if you guys mesh and, you're getting a benefit from that union, all power to you. Now, hopefully people grow together. Jason, my husband, is seeing the changes in me. And we've had our tough times, a lot of different tough times. But we are growing together. And I like where we are now today. I love it. But we had to go through some hell to get here. A lot of forces were trying to work against us for many, many years. So, but yeah, but at this point, do I want to have a kid? No, it would put a monkey wrench in everything that I'm doing. It's bad enough I have all of you guys right? But no, I like my freedom. My dog is who I take care of. My dog is my priority. My husband and my dog are my priority. Okay, and then all of you guys. And my dog is dependent. I couldn't let her out there in the world. She would succumb to all of that crap. She deserves to live forever long as I live. And she's on the protocol too. I think I have some freeze-dried food, freeze-dried, like they're flakes that somebody gave me, and then also her kibble. And I use my juice to moisten that freeze-dried food, which also softens up the kibble. And you know it, and that's how she gets her balance of everything. She gets a nutrient, she gets some meat, she gets some vegetables. So she gets the best of all the worlds. And if you have a pizza or something, she'll get, pizza bones or something, We share some of our people food with her too. But not a lot, because I don't eat a lot of pizza all the time. But she wants for not. I mean, right now she's in front of the heater because it's cold. I don't put her outside in a heated doghouse like some people do. No, I don't do that. If you have a heated doghouse and you say, okay, my dogs are happy out there, then why don't you go live out there and wear all of your coats? Because that's what you're saying. Oh yeah, my dog has a heavy coat. They're made to be out there in the elements. Bullshit. You have an animal, you have a pet, you bring him in the house with you. Because you wouldn't live in a freaking doghouse with a heater. Oh, it pissed me off. There's somebody on my Facebook that does that. But I don't want to call her out because, it's her belief system. And you can't, impose your belief system on somebody else. But yeah, I would like to see anybody that says, oh yeah, my dogs are happy outside in sub-zero temperatures with a heated doghouse. I would like to see somebody go out there and live with their dogs just to see what it's like. But no, they're imbalanced. Mental illness. They're not empathetic to animals. And then you have a pet that makes it even worse. Makes it even worse. So anyways, I hope this talk I liked this talk. Today, I was on fire today. And maybe I've reached some of you, maybe I don't. Maybe it might spur you on to be, whatever it is that you choose to be. But hopefully I've reached the majority of you that are influential in the antibiotics world, as well as the holistic world. And maybe you might change your methods. Dr. Tenpenny makes money for a reason. All the supplements, all her services, all the doctors, and this whole thing, oh my God, the whole thing with the dead doctors. Do you realize that the allopathic holistic community takes their own protocols? Yes, they're no different than a lawyer that takes mainstream medicine or allopathic holistic medicine. They are dying, not because Big Pharma killed them. I mean, well, maybe because they're taking pills, powders, and prescription drugs, but it's not some conspiracy that they have this assassination team to go after someone that is propagating CBD or cannabis or something else. Oh no, but that whole conspiracy theory is huge in the holistic world, because it then lends credibility that, if they're suiciding these doctors, then what they have is credible, that should be considered as revolutionary because somebody is trying to squelch their voice. That is another psychological operation that imbalanced people will propagate. And I have people on my Facebook that still believe that these doctors are being suicided. If that's the case, and everybody that dies in the system have been suicided, not just these holistic doctors. Okay? Finding these cures is just as bad as chemotherapy. This new, this new cancer cure that's coming up from Israel that has no side effects, death is a side effect. So if they found a way to where you feel nothing and there's no inflammation, no pain, which I find very, very hard to believe, be very afraid of what it is they're coming up with. Be very afraid. Because if you're in pain, it means your body's telling you it's trying to heal. So if you have cancer and you have something that stops the cancer and you feel zero pain, oh shit. Oh shit. And then when people die, they're like, oh, well, they what they brought to the table, it wasn't 100%. We didn't say it was 100%. It only works on this much of the population. So yeah. Be very afraid of all the different cures that are out there. Be very afraid. All right, I'm going to go do my thing, but you guys just, hopefully you replay this. Play this for everybody. But, I am very adamant in having people understand the 3 things that kill them. And when you focus on only cancer, you ignore that you ignore that overabundance of NK cells, and you ignore the hormonal imbalance. And that's what they're using to lower your cancer numbers. So that will still put you on a death trajectory and trigger more issues, because you have a titer test that'll tell you all the backdoor triggers that you're going to be triggering at some point, just a matter of time. So the more that you partake in the allopathic holistic industry and the elderberry syrup and all that stuff, the more you're going to trigger those antibodies that are part of your blood type, if you're AB positive, that are all on your titer test that you're testing positive for, if you truly want to know what you have in your body, if you want to really, truly face the demons. Because those are the demons in your body, are those antibodies that you're going to be testing for. So, hey, good luck with that. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.